This video is on how to create a wet on wet technique. And so basically what you do for this is you wet your paper first and then drop wet watercolor into the wet surface, and it dilutes the paint and kind of does its own spontaneous little watercolory thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a large paintbrush that I have, and I'm going to just dip it in water, and I am going to add water to this entire surface. It may be a little bit hard for y'all to see, other than it sort of looks a little bit glossy. So I've wet this section with water, just using a larger paintbrush to make the going go a little faster. So once the surface is completely wet, I am actually going to downgrade to a smaller paintbrush that looks like this, and I'm going to pull color directly from my watercolor set rather than my lid. And the reason why I'm doing that is I want the color to be a little bit more intense. So when I drop it into the water, if it dilutes it, it'll just be a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna go ahead and just drop some color into here. And so you can see how it's kind of spreading around doing its own thing. I'm gonna switch colors to something a little more exciting. So I've got red on here. Let's try a little bit blue, shall we? So you can add really however many colors you want onto here. Now I will tell you this, the more colors that you add to this technique, if you skip around on your watercolor set, it could be that when these colors combine together, they make something a little bit icky or neutral. Okay, so just be aware of that as you allow colors to kind of do their own thing on your page. Now let's say something happens. Let's say colors mix together on here. See how they're kind of pooling in certain areas, and this is not what I am desiring right now. What I can do is I can thirsty brush it, okay? So that means I have a clean paintbrush. I'm gonna go ahead and towel it off with my paper towel. It's damp, it's not sopping wet. And what I can do is I can pick up color that I don't want. Now remember, every time I section it up, I do have to dab it off onto my paper towel. Okay, and see how I was able to kind of pick up color on that area where I didn't want it. All right, so just be aware that that is a fix for wet on wet, or really any type of fix in watercolor, you can do that. Also, just be aware that if you go over an area more than twice on watercolor paper, the paper will start to disintegrate. It'll start to pill up a little bit, so just be aware of that as well, okay? This would be a great technique for fireworks, flowers in a field, just a really cool texture that you want, something kind of fun and funky. Any of those things would work, you would use this technique for.